When I mention my prolonged fasting experience to any new person who doesn't know me, and I start to explain that in this fasting period I don't eat anything from 3 to 6 weeks, they usually, their face usually goes blank. And after they recuperate in about 5 to 10 seconds, their first sentence is, "What? I could never do what you do. I could never be without food for such a long time." But I disagree. Why? In this video I'm going to talk about 9 common misconceptions or myths that are probably holding you back from ever even trying your first prolonged fasting. And there is one myth that always puts a smile on my face, and let's see if you can guess which one. Okay, we have a lot of topics to cover, so let's get going. Hi there, I'm Basswood. In this video I'm going to talk about the common misconceptions that unconsciously hold you back from ever even trying your first prolonged fast. And if you're new to my channel, welcome! On this channel I talk about prolonged fasting, which is anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks, something that I have been doing for the past 28 years, and I help you to successfully start and complete your first prolonged fast. To understand the power of myths, I have a story for you. But in case you are in too much of a hurry, I have timestamps below, so you can skip the story and you can go directly to the first myth. But for all of you who want to get some context, this is the story. Imagine a town in medieval Spain. Church basically rules everything. Everything that priests say is a dogma, is something you do not question. And they hold the power of the people, of the culture, of the arts, of the trades, everything. And now imagine you are a merchant in a small town in Spain. You walk around every day through the town square when you go shopping or when you go get your groceries, and every day when you walk through the town, you notice that biggest house on the hill, which is a house of your rival. He basically isn't a rival because he's the baddest merchant in town. His silks and his spices and his materials are known all over Spain. But you know that to get these materials, this merchant needs to go away for months at a time to gather the supplies, to go on horseback to wild and distant lands and get the materials back, risking everything from sickness to robbery to, I don't know, getting bit by a snake. And you know that you have one advantage against this merchant. You have a ship. But the problem is that every time that you mention your plans to one of the priests, you know that you would like to sail your ship to these lands. It would be faster, it would be more economical, and you could bring back more materials. But the priests are adamant. The earth is flat, a disc, and its edges are guarded by sea monsters and creatures, and if you sail too far away from the mainland, you will die. And this is very disparaging coming from somebody you look up to. And then one night, drinking at the tavern, a man comes next to you. He's an older man, he has a big beard, and he has scrolls under his arms. And he starts telling you that Earth is actually not a disc, it's a sphere, it's round. And he shows you this ancient maps from Greeks and the knowledge that he collected from the stars, and he gets your imagination going. You know, he tells you that you can even see it with your own eyes, that what the priest tells you is nothing but a lie. Why? If you ever looked at an eclipse, you can see the Earth's shadow moving across the moon. And that day, And that night, you look at the moon differently. You start thinking, what if? What if this all is true? What if it could be possible? And the idea starts forming in your head, and you start thinking and pondering, maybe, what if I could do it? And in a week's time, you don't speak to the priests. You make ready your ship, you kiss your wife goodbye, and you tell her that it's going to take a little longer this time to get your supplies. But when you do come back, you will live in a different house. In fact, you will live in a castle. Now fast forward to today. You've been hearing about fasting and how beneficial it is for you, but every time you mention this idea to somebody you know or to somebody you admire, they pull out of their sleeve some kind of myth that they heard along the way or they read online, and you get disparaged. And like those priests all those years ago, they persuade you not to do it. But this is a modern age, and you can find your own answers online. And I am that scholar who is going to give you wisdom and a push and an idea into your head that maybe it could all be true. So let's dive into those myths and see if I can help you. Fasting myth number 1. Fasting and starving are the same thing. That's not the case. Fasting is something you do willingly. You decide how long you're going to fast, how you're going to stay alive, and you decide when you're going to finish. Starvation is another story completely. This is something you do not choose. This is something you are forced to because you have no food or water to sustain you. With starvation, the lack of food and water leads you to malnutrition, and it has really difficult health consequences. And I was told this misconception or this myth by a colleague of mine that I really admire. She is a doctor and she is actually my gynecologist. And once our conversation took back to the fasting, and I told her that I was on a fast, she was horrified. She looked at me like I was dying, and she said, if you were my daughter, and she is the same age as me, she said, if you were my daughter, I would chain you to the bed and I would feed you half bloody steak. I would feed you a half-cooked bloody steak. And I could see it in her eyes that there was no point of persuading her that there are really good benefits for my body and my health if you are fasting, because she's a medical doctor and she never took the time or she never had the will to research those benefits for herself. The only thing that she knows is that you are not eating and you're not providing your body with nutrients. But that's the farthest from the truth. If you are fasting like a sensible person, your body will not be in any sort of danger. So now that we meet each other, I never tell her when I'm fasting, I never go to her place, or we never meet at coffee when I'm fasting, because she will know and I do not want to have another argument with her like I did the last time. Alright, let's see. Fasting myth number 2. If I exercise, I'll be tired and I'll lose muscle. Yes, if you exercise, you will be tired. But fasting and exercise goes perfectly together. Why? Because when you're fasting, your body is not using your muscle as an energy source. It's using your fat stores. And people usually don't start fasting, at least if they are fasting for weight loss, they don't usually have problems with depletion of their fat stores. So it is very beneficial to exercise while you're fasting. Why? Because you're in fresh air, your body is moving, and you're keeping up with the muscles. And it will be easier and even more beneficial for your body, because you will be losing calories, you will be losing and you will be accelerating the fasting procedure while you're exercising. But it's true that you cannot be exercising very high. You cannot. But it is true that exercises must be adjusted to your to how you feel. And just a fun fact: people have run marathons while being on a 3 to 6 week long fast. So it can be done. Fasting myth number 3. My metabolism will slow down and I'll have problems when I start eating again. Now, when I hear this one, I get a little bit annoyed. Of course your metabolism will slow down. You're not eating anything. And this is a good thing. It's a good thing for your metabolism, because it will be able to rest. You just transitioned from a food-based energy source to a ketosis energy source. That means that your body will start using your fat stores for energy. But just because your metabolism slows down, that doesn't mean that you will have problems when you start eating again. Of course, there will be some adjustment period, there always is when you're fasting, but if you start slowly and if you start with little rations or little bites, there will be no problem and your gut will thank you. In my case, I always had problems with digestion. Not digestion, but with getting rid of the waste material in my body. And when my husband usually goes 2 to 3 times a day, I go every 3 days, let's say every 3 days. But when I'm fasting and when I finish my fast and start eating again, my metabolism is so happy from the rest it was given that I usually go once or twice per day. But that really depends on what kind of food I start eating after I finished my fast. You know, after, I don't know, a week or 2 weeks, I basically go back to the same food source that I was in before the fast, and then my gut clogs down again. So that's something that I have to work on. But yeah, you won't have any problems if your metabolism will be resting for 3 to 6 weeks. All right, fasting myth number 4. If I want to this one is so hilarious. If I want to function optimally, I have to eat from sun up to sundown. Okay, listen. Eating usually means that eating means that you are putting food inside of your body. And when you're putting food inside of your body, your blood glucose goes up. And if you ever watched a podcast of Andrew Huberman about fasting, his first sentence was, high glucose usually means high mortality. So I don't want to get that out of the context. But when your glucose is high, your liver suffers. And when your liver suffers, it's never a good thing. So when you're not eating, even if you're intermittent fasting, for as much of the time that you are not eating, your liver gets to have a rest. And now your liver is resting from 3 to 6 weeks. Just imagine that. And not only that it's resting, your body is using all of the fat around the liver that usually accumulates over the year, and it's using it for energy source. So not only you will get healthier, just imagine if you eat every 2 hours from sundown to sunset, how sluggish do you feel? I mean, your body and your digestive tract uses all of the energy that you could be otherwise using for, I don't know, for writing your book or for playing with your kids or going out on a great walk. You're using this energy for digestion of the food. And so this is basically not a good idea, ever eating from sun up to sundown. At least have an 8-hour window when you are eating. And that's intermittent fasting. Fasting myth number 5. I'll be starving my body of nutrients if I don't eat anything. And this will lead to illness. All right. I give you this myth has some valid points. Why? You have different types of fasting. You have dry fasts where you don't drink anything for, let's say, 48 hours. You have water fasts when you don't ingest anything but water for up to 7 days. And then you have juice fasts when you drink freshly squeezed juices from, I don't know, whatever fast you decided to do. In my 28 years experience, I have only done the juice fast after the Broy's fasting method, and this is the fasting method that is basically used for curing cancer. And in this fasting method, you have to drink as much as half of a liter of the vegetable juice, freshly squeezed every day from 4 types of vegetables. That's beets and carrots and celery and black radish. Those are the vegetables that Broy's experimented with and decided that these are all the very best vegetables that will give you nutrients to keep you full, first of all, and keep your body supplied with nutrients that you need when you're not eating. So that's one problem out of the way. And the next thing when I see that there is a problem when people say that they won't get enough nutrients if they're fast, think about your current diet. Do you think that daily takeaway and fast food and quick snacks and chips and fries, do they think that they supply your body with sufficient amount of nutrients? I don't think so. Besides, if you think about it, when a woman gives birth and she's breastfeeding her child, what do you think the nutrients in that milk that is sufficient to keep the child alive and healthy come from? They come from the mother. So she's being drained of the nutrients while she's breastfeeding. This is not what happens when fasting, especially if you're fasting after one of those methods that provides you with the nutrients in the form of the liquids that I have been talking about. Fasting myth number 6. And it says, you break your fast when ingesting any kind of liquid, including water. Now, I have mentioned, this is so crazy, I have mentioned types of fasts in the previous myth, but let me tell you again. When you're dry fasting, you don't drink any water, and that's not very good for you. When you're water fasting, you drink only water. But think for a moment. The fasting is all about detoxification. And now, if you don't ingest any liquids, especially water, for 3 to 6 weeks, first of all, you die because you need water in at least 3 days. You die after 3 days if you don't ingest any water. And second of all, how will you flush out all of the toxins that accumulate in your body? They're going through the kidneys, and there you flush them out when you go to the toilet. But you cannot do that if you're not drinking. Now, fasting, if you think about it, I drink anywhere from 2 to 3 liters of liquids per day, even when I'm not fasting. When I'm fasting, I drink a lot more than that because there are four types of teas, and then there's juice, and then there's apple juice in the evening just for spoiling myself, and then at the end of the day I look like a swollen watermelon. I mean, I don't understand how people could survive without water. But you do not break fast if you're drinking water. And to get back to Andrew Huberman, he even did the research, not he, but he presented the research when people were fasting and they ingested coffee. Okay, correct, they were not ingesting coffee with sugar or milk, it was just plain coffee, but that didn't break their fast. In my case, I cannot tell from experience because I don't drink coffee, and even the fasting method that I use. I told you before that it was used for curing cancer patients, and in those cases coffee was out completely. So Royce did not agree with drinking coffee while you're fasting, and I never tried it, even when I did. And with the rest of my family, so my husband, my mother and my father, they always stop drinking coffee when they are fasting. And then we have myth number 7, which says, I'll lose weight for good if I do a 3-week fast. No, you will not. Listen, if you fast, you will lose weight. Of course you will. I always lose somewhere from 8 to 12 kilograms in 3 weeks. Depends on how big of oversized I am. But if you think that you will only have to fast and then you won't have to do anything for the rest of your life, you are sadly mistaken. Why? Because life happens. You start eating again. You start not exercising. You go on a candy spree. You, I don't know, indulge in alcohol and cigarettes and everything like that. So every bad habit that accumulated your weight over the years is still there within you after you stop your fasting period. And that means that you will start it again. So if you don't fix your mind shift, or you don't fix your mindset, you will gain weight back in a year. This happens to me all the time. Why do you think that I am fasting for the past 28 years? Because I am such a, I don't know, model? I am not. Every year I get back about 6, 7 kilograms every year. And I know why I do it. I know what my problem is. And I'm dealing with it, but it is not that simple. So if you think that fasting will solve all of your problems in 3 weeks, it won't. You have to change your mindset. And before we go to myth number 8 and number 9, just a quick reminder. If you found out, or if you learned one new thing in this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you learned 2 new things, consider subscribing. It helps more than you know, and it keeps my motivation high when it comes to making videos like this. Okay, now back to the myths, and we start with myth number 8. You're only fasting because you want to lose weight. Granted, most of the time in this 28 years when I have been fasting, I have done it for weight loss. But fasting has so many more benefits than just losing weight. And these benefits only get known to you when you fast for a certain period of time. Now, this is anywhere from curing your metabolism, or getting your skin in order, or detoxifying your body, and I don't know, cellular repair. This is called autophagy, and even curing cancer. For I think 2 to 3 times in this 28-year period of me having prolonged fasts, I did it for 6 weeks. Usually I do it just for 3 weeks because I want to detoxify. But in those cases I did it for health reasons. One was because of my endometriosis, and it was cured in that 6 weeks, and I was able to have children in 2 months after I stopped my my fasting period. Once was after I had my second son, and I was breastfeeding him for, I think that's 7 months, and I was really exhausted. I wanted true food. I felt sluggish, I had no energy, and I decided to go on a fast. Granted, that wasn't the very best idea now to think of it, because my body was already low on nutrients, but it worked wonders. Surprisingly, I got the nutrients back with that vegetable juice from the Royce fasting method. So yes, First of all, you started because of the weight loss and because of the vanity. You want to look great. But you insist upon it, or I insist upon it, for so many years because of the other benefits. You know, your skin clears, you don't have any more zits or pimples, the blackheads disappear. Now I'm starting to see that as I get older, the brown spots on my skin disappear, my eyesight improves, the clarity of seeing life in general is so much more, you know, expressive, let's say, if I'm saying it correctly. So yeah, there really are really good benefits. Oh, not to mention that my menstrual cycle even repaired after those 6-week fasts. So yeah, there are a lot of benefits of fasting, but weight loss is the first one that you think about when you think about such a long period of fasting of 3 weeks. And then we have fasting myth number 9, which is, when you decide to do a 3-week fast, you must see it through to the end, no matter how you feel. And yeah, this is my favorite one, granted. Why? Because we covered this part of this myth in myth number 1, when they say that fasting is something that you choose and starvation is something that you're pushed into. Now think about it. If you chose to fast, why on earth wouldn't you choose to stop? I mean, if your body is telling you, I can't take it anymore, if your mind is telling you, this is too much, I want some sugar, I want some food, I want to bite my first bagel in, I don't know, 2 weeks, then yes, think about it. Is it just a bad day, or is this really reaching my limit? And if it's reaching your limit, then you stop. No negotiating. You stop. You start eating slowly, of course. You don't have your, I don't know, English breakfast on the first day when you start eating, but you start eating. That's the main point. Of course, you will be feeling some guilt that you stopped and you could have gone on, you know, but that usually happens even with me. When I stop my 3-week fast, I always say, oh, why didn't I go for 6 weeks? I would be even leaner and I would feel even better. But no, just congratulate yourself. You are in the top 0.001% of people who lasted for as long as you did. Intermittent fasting is not the same thing. If you lasted for more than a week, let's say 2 weeks, or I don't know, 17 days, you are golden. It's something. It's the thing that most people don't even think about, but you achieved it. So there's no guilt to be had. And think about it. If you stop and if you have a good experience of the first fast and you say, I did it this far, maybe next year you will try again, and maybe next year you will have a full period without any problems because you know what to expect. So yes, you can stop whenever you like. Why? Because you have free will. And these are my myths that I have stumbled upon in my 28-year journey of fasting. If you know of any other myths, I would love to hear about them. So write them in the comments. And if you have been fasting and you have been told one of those myths to your face, let me know about what reply you gave, because this is really something that I like to read about and talk about. But to return to my story, we are not in the medieval times anymore. You know, if you hear something like that, if you hear one of those myths, and inside of you, you know that there must be more. You have a perfect capability of going on internet, going on YouTube, and scrolling around and see and look for the answers that you need. Find your own maps and wisdom and sleep on the information, and if you still can't get it out of your head in a week's time or 2 weeks' time, then I don't know, maybe it's time to give it a go. But before you do, I have 2 things I have to remind you of. First of all, consult your physician. Fasting is not for everybody, and your physician will know all of your medical history that you might not have thought of. So consult your physician if you're thinking about prolonged fasting. And the second thing that I want to tell you is know why you're doing it. It is really crucial that you know why you will be, I don't know, depriving yourself of food for the next 1, 2, 3 weeks. Because there will be bad days, there will definitely be bad days, and you will have a much easier time to get through those bad days if you know why you're doing it. This is enough from my side. Thank you for your time, thank you for your attention, and I hope that I have sparked just a little spark inside of you, that maybe you will cross that metaphorical Indian Ocean, and maybe you will see, you will meet me on the other side and tell me what your experiences have been. But until next time, thanks for watching.